Let me begin. Hi, everybody. I'm Scott Murdoch, the Chief Nutrition Officer for NutriStyle, and I'll be the moderator for today's AARP Personalized Nutrition Free webinar titled Caregiving, Nutrition is Critical. Just a quick housekeeping note about submitting questions. You will be able to submit questions for our speaker during this webinar using the Q&A icon. It's down, for me, it's down in the bottom center of my screen. We'll try to answer as many questions as possible at the end of her presentation. Our presenter today is Alana Benito, who has a nutrition science degree from the University of Connecticut and is a registered and licensed dietitian nutritionist. She is the founder of the virtual medical nutrition therapy company called Vita Eats Nutrition, where she leads a team of registered dietitians that provide care for clients with an array of nutrition-related health conditions. Alana and her team of dietitians are also part of AARP's Personalized Nutrition Dietitian Network, offering AARP users 3 online sessions with a registered dietitian, along with the annual subscription to the Dynamic Meal Plan Creator tool. You can find all of this and more at nutrition.aarp.org. So without further ado, I'm pleased to turn it over to Alana. Hey, Alana.
Hey, Scott, and thank you for that introduction, and thank you, AARP guests, for being here today. So as Scott mentioned, we're going to be looking at how good nutrition is essential for both healthy aging and for sustainable caregiving. This talk explores how caregivers can use nutrition to support their own physical and emotional well-being while helping loved ones maintain strength, independence, and quality of life at home. So as Scott said, I'm a registered dietitian and owner of a nutrition private practice. I am also part of the AARP Personalized Dietitian Network, and I reside here in sunny St. Petersburg, Florida. So just a disclaimer, before starting any new diet and exercise program, please check with your doctor and discuss any exercise and/or diet changes with them before beginning. And again, this webinar is brought to you by AARP Personalized Nutrition, powered by NutriStyle. So an overview of what we're going to talk about today. We know being a caregiver is one of the most important jobs in the world, but what goes along with it is some issues that we'll look at today, like energy and stress management and how we can overcome those, and also practical meal strategies. Because oftentimes when you're a caregiver, you often put your needs last because being a caregiver is just so demanding. You might put off important appointments and engagements. You might opt for the easiest way to satisfy your hunger, which isn't always the healthiest. Does this sound familiar to you? I know personally, as a mother and past caregiver to a sick relative, this was very familiar to me when I was looking into this topic. Now, we're also going to look at how to care for the loved one you may be helping out. Common nutrition challenges for them include protein and muscle preservation and, of course, hydration. So let's look at the hidden demands of caregiving. We know it's demanding in many different ways. Many people we care for require help with activities of daily living, like getting out of bed, toileting, eating, moving about. So the physical demands of caregiving are extremely high. Caregivers often find themselves on their feet for extended period of time, lifting, moving, etc. This can be tiring. And we know, just like a workout, after you do a workout, you're hungry, you need to fuel your body for what you're doing. And it is very physically demanding. Next, the emotional stress of caregiving. Whether it's a loved one you're caring for, whether you're hired to be a caregiver, it doesn't matter. It can be emotionally draining, as it involves, watching over someone who may be having an acute or a chronic illness or health issue. And this emotional burden can, of course, be physically taxing as well. And something that's not often talked about is the sleep disruption. Whether you're living with that loved one or not living with the loved one, your sleep can be disrupted due to stress or simply the demands of caregiving if they need help in the middle of the night, or even phone calls in the middle of the night if you're not there with them. There's also a high burnout risk when you are a caregiver, of course. And we want to prevent that. And so today we're going to be looking at ways to prevent that through stress management, and through nutrition and how we can support there. And of course, finally, we have time limitations. They're always a challenge between managing your personal life and caregiving responsibility. Caregivers often struggle to find time for themselves. It's crucial to note that nutrition plays a vital role in all of these. Proper nutrition can support energy levels, improve mood, and even aid in better sleep. So let's talk about nourishing you, the caregiver, first. So we know causes of exhaustion: inadequate protein, irregular meals, too much caffeine, too little hydration, poor sleep, stress, poor physical mechanics. So protein, we know, is essential for energy and muscle maintenance, so it's important to include enough of it in our daily meals, and this will help prevent exhaustion. Another key point is irregular meals. Skipping or not eating regular meals can lead to dips in energy and focus throughout the day. Additionally, while caffeine might seem like a quick energy fix, too much of it combined with insufficient hydration can actually exacerbate your fatigue. So staying well hydrated is essential for maintaining energy levels. Poor sleep and stress are also major contributors to exhaustion, of course. That one's a given. Lack of rest affects both physical and mental health, making it harder to manage daily tasks. And you may say, my sleep, whether or not I'm caring for someone, has declined as I age. And that's very true. So these methods, even if you're not actively caring for someone, can help, that we're going to discuss, can help you with sleep as well. Lastly, poor physical mechanics, such as not maintaining proper posture when you're lifting, moving about in your day, or helping your loved one, can lead to increased fatigue and, of course, risk of injury. So understanding these causes is the first step in addressing the exhaustion you may be experiencing. So now let's look at some simple tips to help with these. So first, adequate protein. So you want to ensure you have sufficient protein at every meal. There is no one-size-fits-all recommendation for protein. I'm not going to sit here and tell you need X amount of grams per day. It wouldn't be accurate. Everyone is a different size. Everyone has different, maybe a different age, different physical demands in their daily life. So this is general guidance. And the exact numbers can also vary, not only based on your size and what you do every day, but your comorbidities and what you have going on health-wise. And protein, as a reminder, does not need to be from an animal source like meat or cheese. It can be from beans, legumes, tofu, tempeh, etc. Also, vegetables have some protein too. Having a source at every meal and most snacks will help you meet your daily goal. And you don't need to have a specific amount of grams in mind. We're just talking pairing protein with every meal and most snacks, so it helps you feel fuller longer and sustain your muscle mass that you have. A good tip is the AARP personalized nutrition system can recommend well-balanced meals to give you ideas of how to add protein in. And again, be creative with proteins in so many things, not, like I said, not just animal sources. It's also in grains, of course, the ones I just mentioned as well. Next, this one's super important, and I know we're all guilty of it. Remember to eat. Sometimes we forget, life gets busy. It's important to eat every 3 to 5 hours. This is great if you have some health issues that require steady nutrition, but even if you don't, your body will thank you if you eat consistently. Also, as we age, hunger cues can weaken, so it is important to have a routine that incorporates these regular meals or larger snacks so that we remember to eat and don't just rely on the feeling of hunger, because it might not be there. It might decline as you age. We also want to avoid things like a simple carbohydrate breakfast that can lead to a crash later. So, you go to a coffee shop and, you're getting that caffeine that we all love so much. It might not be the best choice to also grab just the plain croissant. Perhaps grab a breakfast sandwich, something that has, the protein and the carbs in it so that you don't have a crash later. Again, ensuring you have sufficient protein at every meal. So take a look at your day. When are things the least hectic? Maybe plan for some downtime that includes a meal. Next, we'll talk about hydration. choosing water first is always the best option over anything else. And your daily caffeine fix does not count towards hydration. So just some tips. Keep an insulated water bottle with you. Take sips regularly. You don't have to, chug water. You don't want to have to get to that. You want to have sips regularly so you don't get dehydrated. You might have heard by the time you feel thirsty, you're already dehydrated. So let's get ahead of that and keep hydrating throughout the day. If you don't like the taste of plain water, which is a common complaint I hear, that's fine. You can try flavorings like lemon or even a water enhancer, one that has pretty simple ingredients such as stir. That's a good one. You can just put some flavoring in depending on what flavor you like. Again, it is still water. You're just adding a little bit of flavor to help get it down, make it more palatable for you. Also, another tip, sit down when you eat. I know I'm very guilty of this, just standing at the counter, feeding the ones I'm caring for first, and then just, eating some whatever's left over at the counter. Let's take a moment to sit down. That's how our body works best, how we eat best. You can digest. It's easier on your digestive system if you're sitting and relaxed when you're eating. I'm not saying you have to be there for 30 minutes, just 5-10 minutes that you take for yourself to eat a regular meal. And also keeping healthy snacks on hand for the off day where you don't have time to sit down with a meal or, prepare something. There's a variety of examples here. I'll just read a few that I really like. Keeping nuts around, excellent. They have fiber, they have protein, and they have healthy fats, and they're so easy to transport. Some yummy ones, cheese and crackers, cheese and hummus, Greek yogurt and fruit. That one's not so portable, but it can get the job done if you're at home, and it's very easy to grab. So next we'll talk about stress management. So when discussing nutrition and stress management, it's essential to understand the connection between our dietary habits and our stress level. Let's start by looking at some common food and stress-related issues. So, for example, blood sugar swings and irritability. If we're not having those regular meals or if we're forgetting to eat, our blood sugar can dip and then our mood can be off. And if you're caring for someone that's already very demanding, you want to make sure that you take care of yourself first and keep your blood sugar stable. Also, you can have stress cravings, which can lead to emotional eating. So eating healthy meals regularly can help with this as well. Another common food and stress-related issue, of course, is emotional eating. Goes hand in hand with stress craving. And then caffeine dependence. When we're fatigued, we might just reach for another cup of coffee, another cup of tea, another energy drink, which we might think is helping us in the moment, but it's really leading to more dehydration. And we don't want to become even more caffeine dependent. And then GI upset, the mind-gut connection is very real. If our feel-good hormones are off, it affects our digestive system, and we might have some GI symptoms that kind of get in the way of what we're doing in life and get in the way of caregiving. So if we can tackle those first, then we'll be in better shape. Some foods that support overall well-being and energy during stress are protein. We've already discussed that one. Helps regulate blood sugar and keeping us full for longer, and of course building and maintaining our muscle mass. Some others, omega-3 fatty acids, they're found in foods like fish, flax seeds, nuts. They improve mood and can improve mood and brain function. Whole grains, fruits, veggies provide essential nutrients and energy. And magnesium-rich foods such as nuts, leafy greens, they can help relax muscles, reduce tension, and a bonus, magnesium-rich foods may help with sleep as well. Remember, making small, consistent changes to your diet can have a significant impact on managing stress and improving your overall well-being. Now, I know some of these might seem like simple tips, but it's good to have a reminder to take care of yourself and to incorporate some of these things that maybe you've forgotten about. Life's gotten so busy. You're like, I haven't really focused on myself and getting good quality meals. So now's the time to have this refresher and get back to it. So some practical nutrition strategies that have really helped my clients in the past and me personally. One is batch cooking. Okay, what does that mean? Taking time on a Sunday or really any day of the week and cooking up some batch grains. So brown rice, if you make it on a stovetop, can take 40, 45 minutes. You don't want to be doing that every single night. You don't want to do that for lunch when you're so busy. If you just cook it for 3 days, store it properly in your refrigerator, it'll be good to just grab some of that to pair with your meals. You can do this with other things like chicken breasts, ground beef, beans. Beans are a great one to batch cook as well. Frozen veggies. Love, love, love frozen veggies. Just, grab a bag, pop it in the microwave, eat it. That's the simplest way to do it. But if you don't like that, you can also roast them up. There's different strategies to make frozen veggies yummy, and frozen veggies are excellent for nutrients. Generally picked at the peak, frozen immediately. They're amazing. Sometimes better, sometimes or always better than fresh, in my opinion. Pre-cooked proteins such as rotisserie chicken are a great option. Of course, watch sodium, salt, if that's a need for you, to be careful with the salt because these pre-cooked proteins can have added salt for flavor. You can also look at something like grocery delivery or pickup. Oftentimes, these could be a little bit more expensive, like if you're using Instacart, something like that, but you can look for a service that's free with no markup. You might need to pay a very small membership fee, like $5 a month or so, but there are some grocery delivery services that are excellent and don't charge extra. Of course, there's meal delivery services. I'm sure you've gotten ads in the mail for these. That's always an option. Um, if you have a village, reach out when you're in the thick of caregiving and ask for help, not only for for the person you're giving care to, but for yourself. So that could be a meal train. That's where people sign up for meals and they deliver on a regular cadence, but someone is only doing it once every other couple weeks, so it's not a big stress on any one person. And also, of course, meal planning. You'll save time, you'll save money if you take a little time each week to plan out what you're going to eat. If you don't want to do that yourself, of course, there are resources, registered dietitians, AARP personalized nutrition service is great for this. You can pair your service with a dietitian to get a customized meal plan. You can also, this will help you learn recipes that you can then continue to rotate that you enjoy, throughout your life. So next, stress management. Again, easy tips, great reminder. So some things we can do, of course, move your body with intention. So go outside for a walk, get some, vitamin D, some fresh air. Right now in Florida, that's not necessarily feasible for me in the middle of the day because it's so hot or it's raining, but we can do other things in the evening, in the morning, getting out to get fresh air. Also, just doing some simple stretches right in your air-conditioned house. Anything to move your body so you're not just sitting or in a stiff position or putting your body in stress while you're having that physically demanding job of caring for your loved one. Some simple breath work, breathing in for 5 seconds, holding the breath, breathing out for 5 seconds is so amazing for your stress management. I know it sounds simple, but often throughout the day, we all take shallow breaths, and that's not doing our body any good. So it's important to take a moment to have deep breaths. And aim for 7 to 9 hours of sleep every night. This might seem like a lofty goal, and I know sleep can decrease as we age and also when we're going through a stressful time, but it's so important to give yourself this amount of time to try to get the 7 to 9 hours of sleep. So some good sleep hygiene tips include going to bed at the same time every night, so your circadian rhythm modifies and knows, okay, bedtime is approaching. Let's try to get sleepy. A dark, cool room and no screens an hour before bed. This one, it can be hard if we're in the habit, but it's so important to break it. Put your phone in sleep mode an hour before bed. Ignore it. Some people don't even put it in their room, which is great if you can do that. because the light from your screen will keep you up and it'll signal to your body, oh, I guess it's actually not nighttime. And then so you won't be as sleepy. And then if you have the ability and you have the village, delegate tasks that do not always need your attention to help with your stress management. And if you don't have the quote unquote village, some people say buy your village, hire services. If that's not feasible for you, I completely understand that. But perhaps you can swap tasks with a friend or a neighbor. So ask a friend to take an errand one week, and then the next week when your schedule's not as demanding, you can do that for them. Or skip the people and automate and use grocery delivery service. If you generally eat the same things every week, you can just have them automatically put into your cart, hit order, and then it's not this big time suck where you're on the computer doing that. So now that we talked about how to help you and nourish you and deal with stress for yourself for caregiving, we're just going to talk about a few nutrition considerations for older adults that are aging at home. So how nutrition needs change with aging, common nutrition challenges. We have, of course, lower appetite. Your appetite can decrease as you age. We've already talked a little bit about this, but appetite, changes in taste or smell, dental issues that are leading to issues, not only chewing, but, the soreness and things like that can lower appetite as well. Medication interactions or side effects. This would be a good one to go over with your doctor or the person you're caring for is doctor or the pharmacist. Lower mobility, so difficulty shopping, cooking, where the caregiver comes in to help out. And of course, loneliness, impact on eating. So just to flesh out a little bit on some of these, with the medications, they can often lower nutrient absorption. So we have to make sure that the people we are cooking for, the people we're caring for, have nutrient dense meals, which we will go over in a minute. But the key takeaway is older adults may eat less, but they need more nutrient density, which is just what I just mentioned. So how are we going to deal with these issues of appetite loss? What if they won't eat, or what if they won't eat much at all? So some strategies to help is offer small, frequent meals, 5 to 6 meals a day. This could look like 3 light meals, 2 to 3 nutrient-dense snacks. Also, avoiding pressure around eating. So just like a toddler, if they don't want to eat their meal, don't say you have to eat in order to do this or something like this. Just put the food there, pressure's off, have a talk if you would like to talk, or just have a relaxing time where you're not being like, you need to eat this, need to eat that, because then it takes the joy out of eating. Also offer favorite foods regularly. So there's ways to enhance favorite foods to make them more nutrient dense and helpful. For example, if your loved one loves mac and cheese, you can make a homemade mac and cheese that has more nutrients in it. That is quite simple to make. It's just an example. Adding butternut squash to mac and cheese increases fiber and nutrients. Just a little example there. But you can also make meals social. You can check your local community center or local senior center for community meals. I know this helps a lot of people, and most towns have this resource. Maybe once a week, having a meal that your loved one can look forward to, helping them get there. And so they have that social aspect to the meal. And again, I keep stressing nutrient dense meals, making every bite count. So adding calories so that their needs are met faster because you're making the meal more nutrient dense. So some examples: adding nut butters, adding peanut butter to oatmeal, avocados, putting avocado in a salad dressing and putting that on their vegetables, something like that. Adding shredded cheese, adding olive oil to regular meals, just drizzling it on top. These are all good ways to add nutrient density to meals. Also, enhancing flavors with herbs and spices, that can help, since our tastes tend to diminish as we age as well. We want to avoid adding a lot of salt unless your doctor says that's okay and that's what you need. you can instead enhance flavors with herbs, spices, citruses like lemon, lime, etc. And of course, fluid timing. We want to avoid drinking a lot of fluids when we eat because that can fill our bellies faster, and then we have less room for the food that we really need. So, if the person you're caring for is having issues chewing, besides going to the dentist and getting to the root cause, if that's not feasible, some examples of soft yet nutrient-dense foods are listed here. Stews with tender meat are excellent. Avocados, yogurts, soups. You can really create nutrient-dense soups quite easily that are pretty tasty. And also adding moisture to foods that are dry to help with chewing issues. For example, adding broth, gravy, cheese sauce, or butter to something that's normally dry. For example, rice. Rice can be a hard one to get in if you are having issues with your mouth, and adding something like gravy if that's suitable for your diet. Things like that can help the mouth feel and make that easier to eat. And of course, minimizing distractions while at the dining table, not only avoiding pressure around eating, but avoiding distractions, maybe turning off the TV, not having just a lot going on during mealtime, creating a relaxing space for your loved one to eat in. And I do want to note, if you suspect the person you're caring for has swallowing issues, please consult your doctor. They can refer you to a speech therapist if necessary. Dysphagia, also known as difficulty swallowing, will require special care to avoid complications. And a speech language pathologist and dietitian can help you with this issue. So something very important for your aging loved one is protein and muscle mass, keeping that on their body. So why does this matter with aging? Protein supports muscle maintenance, strength and balance, independence, helping them do those activities of daily living we talked about earlier on their own, and of course, healing and immune support. So again, same as it was for caring for yourself, some practical protein related goals, focusing on protein at each meal, high quality protein, actual meat, fish, eggs, beans, legumes, etc., versus something like a shake, which those have their place as well, but focusing on actual foods first. And then preventing dehydration is so crucial in caring for loved ones. They might not be able to sense that they're thirsty, or they might have a medication that is, messing with their hydration, making them urinate more, so they become dehydrated faster. If you're in a very hot climate, you can become dehydrated faster as well. If the person you are caring for has memory or cognition issues, another reason they might not be able to say that they're thirsty or remember to reach for the water. So reminding the person you're caring for to take sips of water, to have something to drink regularly is very important. You don't have to do this, verbally telling them all the time. You can have reminders of hydration available. Keep beverages out, water bottles, cups of water, flavor water like we talked about. Soups, fruit, and popsicles count for hydration. And of course, we want to keep encouraging these small amounts frequently through visual reminders, verbal reminders, and then also having liquids in our food. And we talked about those on a prior slide, but those help with hydration as well. Some signs of dehydration to look for would be fatigue, confusion, dizziness, and of course, constipation. These are all signs of dehydration, which is especially dangerous for older adults. Going into summer, something to definitely keep in mind now that it's getting hotter. So just to review the key takeaways we talked about today. For you, the caregiver, your energy and stress management and practical meal strategies. This webinar will be available for you as a recording if you would like to go back and look at some of the tips that I outlined today. And remember, you cannot pour from an empty cup if you're the caregiver. Please take care of yourself and adopt small changes that we've discussed to to get there and to make yourself hardier to care for your loved one. Make sure you take care of yourself first. And then we also talked about things to do for your loved one, common nutrition challenges, preserving their muscle mass, and of course, super important, hydration. So thank you so much for being here at this presentation. Just a reminder, there through AARP, there is a resource called AARP Personalized Nutrition. And this is a meal planning service, and there's so many benefits of meal planning. Like I mentioned earlier, balanced nutrition, giving you new ideas on what to cook, more well-rounded meals as well. It can help with various comorbidities or goals that you have, like weight management. It can help you track what you eat, even if you're not on the meal plan. It can also reduce your reliance on packaged foods, which would be very ideal. But there are options built into this program to choose convenience foods if that's what you need as well. And just some other benefits of meal planning that we didn't discuss here, but are important to highlight, is meal planning can really save money, and it's so much more efficient once you get the hang of it and have your regular weeks lined up. So the meal plans, also to note on this program, can be for one person, multiple people. If you decide to work with a registered dietitian for more personal support, it can be customized to any health issues you might be having. Those can be taken into account when your meal plan is designed as well. So for more information on that, you can visit nutrition.aarp.org. So now I'll give it back to Scott to see if we had any questions from the audience.
Yeah, thanks, Alana. Let's get to these questions. One viewer asked, I know that getting enough protein is so important, but I'm confused about complete protein. So I think the gist of this question is about the kind of principles behind the complete proteins. For example, I know that eating beans and rice makes a complete protein. I know that meat is a complete protein, but does it still count if I just eat the beans without the grains, so it is not a complete protein? So,
Yeah, that is an
yeah.
excellent question. Excellent question. So that was the complete protein with the beans and rice example was an older school of thought. It has since been researched that it does not matter if you eat them together as long as you have complete proteins throughout the day. So let's back up. What is a complete protein? So a complete protein is something that has all of the essential amino acids that we need in it. So proteins are made up of amino acids. Our bodies make some, those are the non-essential ones, but the essential ones we need to consume. So vegetarian sources or even vegan sources like beans and rice are not complete proteins on their own. They do not have all of the essential amino acids. But if we combine various types of quote unquote incomplete proteins throughout the day, we will be just fine and get in all of our essential proteins. So you can eat the beans with whatever you're eating in a meal and have another vegetarian source of protein later and generally be covered. You don't need to eat the beans and rice together. It's not some perfect combination that combine in the digestive system at the same time. You can have them at different times throughout the day, and that's perfectly fine. And it doesn't need to be a perfect combo like beans at 10 a.m., rice at 5 p.m. It could be beans, nuts. As long as you're getting a variety of source, it's fine.
Great. Another question, what's a good way to incorporate vegetables in a person if a person has issues chewing but doesn't like steamed vegetables?
Okay, good question. So one of my favorite things to do, and I do this for myself too, just because I think it's delicious, is making a soup that is blended. So getting yourself an immersion blender, or you can use your regular blender too, but sometimes regular blenders, you need to wait until the soup cools. And I don't have time for that. So I got myself an immersion blender, and you can too. It's just a stick blender that you can safely put into a pot of soup. Of course, be very careful. You want to submerge it, don't have it towards the surface. And you can make a soup that has, you throw whatever you want in there, frozen, already cooked, of course, broccoli, peas. You could even add in beans. That makes it extra creamy too. Adding in those veggies into a soup and then blending them with the help of an immersion blender or just putting them in your actual blender makes a really nice creamy soup that is easy to get in. And you're still using the steamed or frozen veggies, but the
Mhm.
person doesn't have to just eat the plain steamed and frozen veggies. So that's one idea. Another idea, if they don't have, if they could chew all right, would be roasting those frozen veggies. Those are another good option. So they get a little caramelized and a little bit sweet from the caramelization, and they're tastier that way too.
Great. You had mentioned the importance of hydration. Should I be adding electrolytes to my water?
So no, you don't have to add electrolytes to your water. Some people do. In some cases, you may need to. So that would be very individualized, but the average person doing the average activities throughout the day does not need electrolytes. So if you're caring for your loved one inside an environmentally controlled area that has air conditioning since it's summer, you don't need electrolytes. Now, if you're out working in the garden all day, sweating profusely, then perhaps you might. But again, that would depend on your comorbidities. So that's a more individualized question. But I know electrolytes are quite trendy right now. So I just like to mention that no, the average person doing the average things does not need electrolytes. You get electrolytes from your food naturally. So just eat a well balanced diet and you'll be fine on your electrolytes.
Great. There was a question, it may be too specific, but I'll pose it anyway. Magnesium is an important nutrient. However, magnesium-rich foods make me constipated. How to deal with it?
So magnesium, there's different types of magnesium. I bring this up in case you were looking at a supplement. Some magnesium supplements can affect your GI more than others, so you'd want to look into that. But if you're simply getting magnesium from food, I would look at your hydration status. Are you hydrating enough? Because high magnesium foods tend to be high in fiber as well. It could be that that the ones you're choosing are high in soluble fiber. That could be leading to constipation if you're not hydrating enough. So taking a look at that combination. Now, if you are supplementing, then you would need to look at the type because sometimes magnesium supplements can lead to GI issues. More times than not, it's the opposite of constipation, but just something to consider. But for you specifically, I'd look at hydration first.
Great. Well, those are good answers, and that's all the questions we have. So that concludes our webinar session. I hope you found it helpful. Thank you, Alana, and thanks to all of you for tuning in. Have a great rest of your day, and remember to eat well.
Thank you.
You bet.